Daniel Ricciardo, who retired from the Japanese Grand Prix after 2 laps due to an accident, described his lap 1 disaster as an isolated incident and denied that rising pressure had a role. Ricciardo, who started 12th on the Suzuka grid, said he struggled to find traction on the mediums and had a poor start to the race. While he was being swallowed by the middle, Alex Albon, riding a soft Pirelli, pushed ahead. As a result, Albon had enough distance to avoid colliding with Ricciardo as they approached turn 2, but the Honey Badger strayed slightly beyond the racing line, leading the Williams driver to lose his advantage. According to Ricciardo, he was initially in that position because he agreed to start on the grid with medium tyres. We definitely got gobbled up on that medium. It just looks like Yuki and I didn't have the grip that we anticipated, and as soon as we launched I could see Bottas and Hülkenberg just split us and go around. And then into 1, I was in the middle with Yuki and an Alpine, and into turn 2 I thought, alright, let's just settle. And as soon as I got on the throttle I was still struggling, so then I think Stroll was on the outside, so I was trying to hold him off, and then I guess as I started to come back for 3 Albon was there. I watched his onboard, and yeah, I don't even know if he wanted to be there, but his traction was so much better on the soft that he was like, well, there's space until there wasn't. I didn't see him. But honestly, I always assume maybe someone is there at 1. I never tried to, let's say, use the full width of the track and be completely ignorant. But yeah, I guess there was obviously not enough room. All things considered, if we could wind back the clock, I would start on the softs. But for the record, I wanted to be on the medium. That's not something I fought against. But knowing what we know now, the softs would have been a lot better for us. Albon prepared to pass the Australian as they reached the first set of bends, while Ricciardo, who had started 10th on the grid, had dropped to 14th owing to a poor start. Albon, who had soft tyres to begin with, increased his traction going out of turn 2 and passed the driver from RB on the outside of turn 3. Unfortunately, Ricciardo, who looked to be focused on Aston Martin driver Lance Stroll, switched into Albon's position without seeing the Williams, resulting in significant contact between the two. After their vehicles careened off the track and collided with the barriers, the drivers were able to safely dismount. The race was red flagged to make it easier to retrieve the vehicles, clear up the debris, and restore the disrupted tyre barriers. Albon, who appeared to be the unlucky victim of the incident, told the radio, "He just squeezed me, I had nowhere to go." The Japanese stewards have summoned both drivers to appear before them for what is supposedly a violation of the FIA's International Sporting Code, Appendix L, Chapter 4, Article 2D. This code states that causing a collision, repetition of serious mistakes, or the appearance of a lack of control over the car, such as leaving the track, will be reported to the stewards and may entail the imposition of penalties up to and including the disqualification of any driver concerned. The 34-year-old wasted little time in disputing that the crash on Sunday was typical of his season, describing it as a singular incident that occurred during lap 1 racing. "It is," he admitted when asked if it was frustrating to lose a potential point-scoring finish, given his teammates started 1 place higher and finished inside the top 10. "I think also yesterday I was obviously frustrated not to make it by half a tenth into Q3. But there were some positives. There were some things that we felt like we could probably show today. Lap 1 incidents, they're the worst, because there's always those questions. Oh, what could have been? Maybe we could have done this. So yeah, shame for not only us as a team, but Alex. And you never want to see someone go out on lap 1. The 2024 Racing Bulls had 3 difficult races before to his DNF. However, he argues that Sunday's events were not the result of increased pressure. "I think today is a singular moment. I guess in terms of, I don't look at today and think, oh man, this year, like when it rains it pours or whatever. I feel it was just one of those things. We know that 24 races, it's probably likely that maybe I'm involved in another lap 1 incident. It's just probability in that, so these things kind of happen. It obviously sucks when they do, but I don't look at it any more than today being a kind of singular incident. Of course, would have been nice to get a race under our belt and try to show a little bit of something that I felt we were starting to show yesterday. But yeah, we'll do that in China. I actually test on Tuesdays, so the laps that I missed today I'll get back on Tuesday." Ricciardo began 2024 knowing he would face intense scrutiny this year, since his contract with McLaren was bought out at the end of 2022 to allow the Woking-based team to swap drivers. Ricciardo sought sanctuary with Red Bull as a backup driver for both teams and was given the go-ahead to replace the underperforming Nick de Vries in the middle of last year after a strong Pirelli tyre test in Red Bull's RB19. Red Bull took their time picking which drivers would participate for their newly rebranded RB sister team, previously AlphaTauri, ultimately choosing Yuki Tsunoda and Ricciardo over Liam Lawson. Lawson was brought in as a substitute for 5 races, while Ricciardo was out injured, and he impressed with mature driving and a hard-fought 9th place in Singapore. But he is now waiting in the wings for a chance to drive with RB or Red Bull. According to the New Zealand Herald, that opportunity might arise soon, potentially as early as the Miami Grand Prix. According to the Herald, Red Bull's Helmut Marko has issued Ricciardo an ultimatum. If adjustments are not made quickly, Lawson may be given the vehicle for the rest of the season. Marko has also claimed that Ricciardo must come up with something pretty soon, while Lawson has stated that he is absolutely ready to return to Formula One if the opportunity arises, and that he is prepared to replace Ricciardo at any moment. I think Daniel knows that the potential is there, but I'm sure he's probably expected to step it up, Lawson said. Lawson's most recent comments came after the new season of Drive to Survive, Netflix's highly respected F1 docuseries, revealed his true reaction to being denied a permanent F1 seat in 2024. After being informed of the news by Red Bull team principal Christian Horner, Lawson was spotted making a joke at Tsunoda, whom he comfortably outperformed in the Singapore Grand Prix. "I've just beaten the guy who got the seat," Lawson adds. "It was meant to be me." Not for the first time, the 8-time Grand Prix winner stated that his current RB troubles are not comparable to his time at McLaren when he was looking for answers. "Obviously, I know how I feel, and maybe not everyone does, but it's a very different situation to McLaren," he added. "I think especially 2022, I was running on very little confidence. I was kind of confused with the car, and I didn't really understand it. That was a completely different thing. We're certainly not achieving what we thought we would be, but it's not through being lost." Horner went so far as to call Ricciardo his favourite F1 driver in Drive to Survive. We now know that Helmut Marko, Horner's external counsel, no longer shares Horner's views, and it's not far-fetched to assume that Marko preferred Lawson even back then. The Austrian public holds Lawson in high esteem. The current performance has made Ricciardo's predicament even more intolerable, and he seems to be heading toward the same fate that Nick de Vries did a year ago. Lawson has 19 Grand Prix to gain additional experience and knowledge of Formula One if Ricciardo is demoted after Miami. If the Kiwi does well, he may be Max Verstappen's first pick for a racing colleague in 2025 if Verstappen stays with the team. Liam Lawson has replaced Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon as Red Bull's top contender. What do you think? Will Daniel Ricciardo get better results in the upcoming races, or is the time to retire for the Honey Badger? Let us know in the comments down below.